Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis, and this is for trading on June the 10th, 2020. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with the markets. All right, as usual, we will start off by taking a look at our calendar here. In terms of today, there wasn't a lot in terms of important news. But coming up here, we do have some numbers, data from Japan. We do have CPI numbers here from China, but at this point, any positive number is positive for the market. And let's take a look at tomorrow. Tomorrow, we do have some important US news. So nothing much in the London session here. But as soon as we start with the our New York session here, we do have CPI numbers, which is our inflation numbers. At this point, it's expected to be 0, but as long as it's not too far off, it should be positive. It should be okay. I don't think it will make much of a difference in terms of the markets. Now, we do have FOMC tomorrow, and this is something that can have an impact on the market. Now, if they keep everything the same, then I would not expect much of a difference in terms of price movements. However, we have seen Fed putting in more and more and more into the market. So if they even mention negative interest rates, or even have any sort of indication, even if it's a slight indication that is even at the back of the report, anything about negative interest rates, that will be negative for the US dollar and it will be positive for the stock market. If they talk about more stimulus, that will be positive for the stock market, negative for the US dollar. So anything like that where they talk about more stimulus will be negative. And at this point, I'm not expecting them to talk at all about raising interest rates. So that has nothing to do with. So either it will be positive if they are, again, like I said, more stimulus, or it will be neutral if they don't really change anything in regards to what they're doing. And of course, there is a press conference this time with FOMC. So there will be questions, and how the questions get answered, or impromptu questions, or how the questions get answered can make a difference. So just keep that in mind. And that's pretty much it. So let's take a look at our charts here. We'll start off with euro dollar. So yesterday we were looking for euro to go up, and so it did drop a bit and before it went up. But right now, as we can see, price is trading in a range over the last several days here. We do have a bullish candle close, but I'm still neutral on this. And the reason for that is because it can just do one of these. All right, price can still get stuck in the range or remain stuck in the range. This is why yesterday the candle was neutral, but like I said, it can go in either direction. Today, same thing applies. Because we are at the top of the range here, we could see price drop even with a bullish close for the day. So I would watch out for that. Now, on the flip side though, if it does go through, there's of course plenty of room to the upside, and we could see it go into 1.1420 or even all the way into 1450. I'm not too keen on it at this point. I'm more of the opinion that this may become range bound at this point, and as such we may see a move back down towards 1265 and maybe even potentially into 1240. So we'll keep an eye on this. Neutral bias for euro dollar. Pound dollar here, this one was bullish yesterday, but as we see, price was into resistance. The candle close for the day is neutral. And now it's been 3 days again for pound dollar as well, that it's been stuck in this range. And as such, what I'm looking for is if the price stays below 1.2750, I will look for price to come back down towards the bottom of the range. And then it may become range bound at this point, we'll see. But for now, I'm looking for price to come down towards 1.2620. So bias here is neutral for pound dollar as well. One thing to keep in mind here is today, We have seen a little bit of softness in the stock market. So stock market has been very much in the risk on mode. So this was one of the first days that we have seen a little bit of a change in that. Now, this is by no means a reversal in the stock market. It could lead to a reversal, but at this point, it's hard to say because it's a bit of a pullback and may just be a little bit of a profit taking. And as such, we just have to be careful. So if the stock market drops, all these dollar crosses are expected to drop, like I've been talking about over the last few days. But if the stock market keeps in the risk on mode, then we are likely to see dollar crosses go up as well. So just make sure we are keeping that in mind as we trade. So for now, bias is neutral. Now, having said that, if it does break through the high of today, then there is more room to the upside. There's all this room that hasn't been filled. So we could see it go into 2850 or 2900. But my base case is that this one may become range bound at this point. Aussie dollar, this is the first time we have actually seen Aussie drop in last several days. And Australian dollar is closely related to the stock market. Because the stock market was soft today, excuse me, we have seen Australian dollar drop as well. The candle close here is not very strongly bearish. It's more neutral here. And with this one as well, last several days, price has been trading in a range. So as such, I am neutral on this. We may be at a turning point in the market. We don't know yet. So that's why we have to be cautious right now. With this one here, I will look for a price to perhaps come down a bit towards the support here at 68.90. And if it holds above, I'm looking for price to go back into the range, but basically looking for a range bound move at this point for Aussie dollar as well. So bias is neutral. New Zealand dollar, exactly same thing here as well. Price was into resistance. And as we can see, the candle close for today is neutral. At this point, there is bearishness in it, but I would not call this hugely bearish at this point. And as such, neutral bias. Now we may see a retest of the low, and if it doesn't break through the support today, I would look for a move back down and potentially a sideways market. Now, if the stock market starts to go up, we may see price break out to the upside. And if price goes through the resistance of the high of the day today, then we're looking for another move higher. But until then, I am more of the opinion of a sideways move here. Same thing here for dollar CAD. We see that price wasn't able to break the support, has turned around, but then rejected the high as well. The candle close here is not extremely strong here. We have a large pin on the top, which means we may see another drop. So I will look for price to retest the low. And if it holds above, again, this one may become range bound as well. So tomorrow we'll have to see. We may basically be looking for range bound moves before it actually turns or continues on with the trend or goes back into a trending move. So for now, it's neutral for dollar CAD as well. But if it breaks through the support, next target here would be 1.33. And then below that, we're looking at 1.3280. So neutral bias for dollar CAD as well. Silver here. Silver rejected the top of the range, and now we did have that bearish close. So I will look for a drop back towards the bottom of the range here into 17.20. And if it holds above, we are looking for a move back into the range still. So right now, bias is bearish, but if it drops through that, it can come down. But right now, 17.20 will be the target here, and we'll see how price reacts at the bottom of the range. So slightly bearish bias here for silver. Gold here. Gold had a nice bullish day here. Now, keep in mind, price is into resistance here. So if it's not able to break through the resistance, then we're likely to see it come back down towards today's high, low, which is 1690. At this point, I am neutral on this, and only if it breaks through the resistance would I look for this 1733-ish area. Until then, I'm looking neutral. I'm looking at this as a neutral, just like we had over here. We had a bullish candle close, but then price dropped. So we could get another one like that. For now, neutral bias for gold. Oil here, oil hasn't really done a whole lot. We did see a bit of a drop today. Today's candle close is neutral, which means this one can go in either direction at this point. What I'm looking for is a retest of today's low, and if it holds above the support, I would look for price to go higher. Should it drop through the support of today's candle, then I'm looking for price to drop. So it will just be a matter of what happens into support. And as such, bias is neutral. So neutral bias here for oil as well. If it drops through the support, I'm looking for 35.80. If it holds above 37.20, I will look for price move back into this 14.70 level. So neutral bias for now. Copper here, copper is still looking bullish here. We had a nice bullish candle close, and right now this still looks bullish, so we may see another move higher. Now, one thing to keep in mind though is price is into resistance. So as we can see, this is where it has reacted previously. So if it doesn't go through, it can turn, and especially as we see some of these commodity currencies turn, I should say, if we see the stock market turn, then the commodities are likely to turn, which means the commodity currencies are likely to turn as well. Bitcoin here, completely neutral close for the day. Price is still hanging close to the highs, but it hasn't been able to break through the resistance or through the support at this point. So what I'm looking for here, again, another neutral one, and I will look for retest of highs. If it doesn't break, then I'm looking for move back down here. So bias is neutral for Bitcoin as well. S&P 500. So this is the first time we have seen a bit of a pullback in over 2 weeks here. And the candle close here is not sufficiently bearish at this point. So it can still go higher. So my bias is neutral. I'm not turning bearish on this just yet. What I'm looking for is a retest of the high, and only if it holds below, then I will look for price to drop. If it doesn't, if it breaks through the resistance, then we are continuing higher. So price is into the positive territory now. S&P 500 has wiped all of this drop. This previous losses have recovered now, and momentum is still looking quite bullish. So this one can still continue on. We just have to keep an eye. If it doesn't go through the high of 32.30, then I'm looking for a drop. So bias is neutral. Nasdaq here is still looking bullish. It has gone through the highs. It's into the first target of 10,000 that we have talked about, or we talked about yesterday. And now it's still looking bullish. So this one can go higher here at this point. So I would say 10,000 plus 100 and potentially more. So bullish bias, but now it's getting stretched. So at this point, it hasn't turned and doesn't look like it's ready to turn yet, but things can change. So watch out for it. Right now, bias is bullish for Nasdaq. Dow Jones is neutral. We did have a bearish candle close. Again, it's not a bearish engulfing candle close. It's not a strong bearish signal at this point. More neutral. I'm neutral here. What I am looking for here would be if it goes through the resistance, then it's likely to continue higher. But if it doesn't break the resistance, then we could see a drop here. So again, it's not clear yet. So we'll have to just give it some time and see, but bias is neutral at this point. If it breaks through the resistance, next target is 28,230. If it breaks through the support, next target is 26,750. So bias here is neutral for Dow Jones as well. DAX here, DAX actually had a bearish candle close here. Sorry, so DAX here did have a bearish engulfing candle close, so we could see a further drop here. And next target here would be 12,335. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if the markets are quite ready to turn, so it could do one of these and become range bound. Do keep that in mind. But for now, bias is bearish for DAX. FTSE here, this one did have a bearish engulfing candle close here, so bias is bearish. Next target is 6250 and then 6170, so bearish bias for FTSE. Last one here, Nikkei. We do have a bearish candle close for Nikkei, but it is not looking very, it's not looking strongly bearish just yet. So if you take a look at this, this is actually bearish engulfing. This one, not quite yet. So with this one, we could see a retest of the high. And if it closes below, if it holds below, then I'm looking for price to come back down. And at this point, we may just be looking at a neutral or a sideways market. So keep that in mind. But overall, we just need to be, keeping an eye on the stock markets, because if the risk on sentiment is going to change, that will impact everything else as well, including the Forex pairs. But until then, until we actually turn, market is still in risk on or risk positive sentiment. And so we just have to be careful with this one. And especially before the market turns, it tends to get sideways. And that's when a lot of problems can happen. So just keep a close eye on that. So that's it for today. Have a wonderful trading day. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.